Oh, well, welcome for the. And before we get going, I want to let everybody know that Bev Harden has given me a mat cutter that she wants to give away. She is doing home cleaning. She bought a new house.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
cleaning, and it's I can show it to you, but I don't
Yeah,
think you'd be able to
perfect.
see it. It's pretty big. It has
Camera.
circular cut capability. It has long, I think it can do
Oh,
probably up to about a 20 by 30 print, a mat for that. And it's free. She wants to just give it away. So if you're interested in a mat cutter, let me know. If we get more than one person interested, we might have to draw out of a hat. But if there's someone out there who would like one, just let me know. And with that, I think we'll hand it over to John and let's get started.
All
Okay,
right.
well, let's see. Does Dorothy want to mute everybody?
I will.
Let's hope I can deal with the technology here.
Share kind of where we are as we get started in the school year. We take
Okay, so John, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted,
Okay, good.
just the way I like it. Everybody else has to be quiet and listen. I was not scheduled to be the judge tonight. There was another judge who had kind of an emergency situation. And then the next judge had another emergency situation, and on and on. And Alice called me, and as most of you know, we do have to give back to the club. So at the last minute, I volunteered to be the judge. So this morning I went through the images for the first time and made some notes, and then I kind of ran through them again this afternoon. So they're still pretty fresh, but I do have notes here, so I may refer to those. Those of you that haven't entered prints or seen the prints, I want you to know the prints, they're just so much better than the digital images. And I'm glad that the board decided, or that David decided, to give the prints to the judges, because it makes a huge difference. And I don't know if it's because people put the money into the print and getting it mounted, that they pick their best work, or what, but the prints were just really stunning. And it's been nice that David and Judith have been able to show them at their attorney's office there in Brown's edition. So if we do that again this month, I hope people can get over and see them. So let's see. I am going to try and share my screen. Let's see, what is all this? Whiteboard zoomed. I don't want whiteboard zoom, do I? I suppose we don't have Tamara here, who's really the go-to girl. Whoop. And I tried this.
I'm here, John, but I can't run it tonight.
Okay.
I'm
No,
multitasking
that's fine.
tonight.
Well, I got this to work, but I'm trying to figure out, let me check. I don't think my system preferences have changed. Last time I couldn't do it because, oh, shoot. Okay, why is this not?
So John, when you'll want to stop sharing your screen. And then when you hit share screen, it'll have you choose between whiteboard or something else. And you want to choose the other one.
Okay, that's my problem. There we go. All right.
There you go.
Okay. Do I just drop in? Do I need to get? No. Dang it.
No, you just want to pull up the judges folder now.
Okay, let me go back and do that again. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, judges folder.
There you go.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, John, we're starting with digital general color.
Okay, and before we start, I mean, everybody's heard this from every judge. You know, these are just my opinions and my comments. You know, they're for you to learn from, and especially when you look at other people's images. But whatever you do, do not try and make artwork or photographs to please the judge and get a good score. You'll have nice photos, but they're not going to have heart. Stick with what you like, do what you feel in your heart, and you're going to create something unique rather than just run of the mill. So here we go.
All right,
Always on guard.
that's my job.
Okay. Oh, you say it. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, when you see this image, you can't but pause. A lot of us have been here. It has special meaning, sorry, for most people. There's great light. The image is really sharp. I mean, I can zoom in. I mean, you can, read this really, really well. Good placement of the soldier. I like the fact that he's not starting to, cross over this little easel that the wreath is on. It's only thing is, it's probably the same view that everybody takes when they get here. Although this particular photographer knew when to snap the shutter. Maybe it would look better if it was just, if you're really zoomed in. I don't know. I do kind of like the background because it gives us kind of a feeling for where it's at. But I scored this 3 for composition, 4 for impact, and 4 for technical. And here's just a hint. Most of the older photographers know this. If your picture shows up first, starts with the letter A, you usually get a lower score because the judge is just getting started. So some of the old pros never enter anything with the letter A or even the letter B. So just a tip.
Okay. Always on Guard by Dorothy Detler, 11 points. Autumn Beauty.
Okay, this image looks really, really soft. I don't know. I mean, when I zoom in here on the bridge, I mean, there's like nothing sharp about the subject. It's a gorgeous time of the year to photograph at the Japanese gardens. The composition here is really lovely. Person could maybe show a teeny bit more of the color at the top, but I really like the way the bridge fills the image and then is, kind of repeated down here in the water. But the fact that it's just so soft is really, disappointing. And so I scored this 4 for composition because I really like the composition, 3 for impact, and 2 for technical.
Autumn Beauty by Jean Alleman, 9 points. Beautiful.
Okay, well, there's 3 separate groups of blossoms here. I'm not an expert like a lot of you are on plants. If my wife was here, she could probably tell me, the name of this thing. It looks to me a little oversaturated, but again, I don't really know what kind of plant this is. Maybe that's the color of green and the color of the blossoms, but it just looks, overpowering because of the color. The viewpoint is pretty common. I mean, it's, the way most of us would look down at a plant. So, the composition isn't anything, really outstanding. And the petals in the back, the blossoms in the back here are starting to kind of get a little bit blurry. It would be nice if all of them were in focus. So I gave this a 3 for composition, a 4 for impact, mostly because it is eye-catching, and a 3 for technical.
Beautiful by Donald Burnell, 10 points. Before I Go.
Well, this is an interesting image. The background is the part that I really like the most, those soft muted colors. Unfortunately, the main subject is a little bit soft and muted too, and doesn't really pop out of the background very well. I don't know what sort of processing they use to get this look. I started thinking possibly taking the petals or the leaves maple leaves out of the corners. And then, you might have to crop down a little bit or something, but just having the one maple leaf might be more impactful. Anyway, it's really interesting processing, but it's awfully soft. And again, when you kind of zoom in, you really see how this edge just sort of blurs, and there's almost a little artifact around some of it. So I gave that a 3 for composition, a 4 for impact, because it is real unusual, the look, and the grouping of colors is very pleasing, and a 3 for technical.
Before I Go by Kim Barbie, 10 points. Channeling, David Powers.
My wife was in the room this morning when this popped up the first time, and I said, oh my God, I bet this is David Powers picture. But it's not. Because when I asked David about it today, he said, no, he didn't do that. So somebody must be familiar with David's techniques, I guess. Anyway, this is a great title. The big brick up here at the top kind of seems to be kind of the main, subject, although there's lots of other bricks here, but the big one just kind of gives you a place to come back and for your eye to rest for a minute before you kind of wander around again. It's an interesting choice of color. It does seem real electric. They're complements, the green and the red, but the yellow mixed in with it, it just makes it pretty wild. I was thinking possibly a little bit of a gradient pulled down at the top, maybe would darken this top brick just a little bit, which tends to kind of pull your eye up to the top. But that's, nothing too distracting. Anyway, I scored this a 4 for composition, a 5 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Channeling, David Powers by Tim Lesser, 13 points.
Oh, good one, Tim.
Hey, it's me.
All right, I'm glad somebody else is taking pictures of people. In fact, I think we've got a couple of them tonight. This one's a lovely portrait, great expression on the face, everything's sharp on the face, nice highlights in the eyes. The background is really blurred out nicely. The only thing I could find that is a little disappointing is this really bright spot on the hand. And I didn't really even notice it at first, but there's a little bright spot on the hair. And if somebody was a Photoshop expert and really wanted to spend time, they might be able to clone some of the other skin and maybe put a layer in and just bring this back on the hand slightly. Same thing with the hair, but it would be a lot of work, and I'm not sure it would be worth it if this is going to end up being a photograph on the wall at home. And for that, I think it's just great. I scored this a 4 for composition, a 5 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
All right. Hey, it's me by Lori Pence, 13 points.
All right, Lori Pence. Okay, I got to get this other piece of paper. There we go.
Merganser.
All right, I don't know if this was taken recently at Cannon Hill, but I wished I'd been down there. I got a wood duck picture or two, but I didn't get any of these other interesting ducks. And I found that photographing birds is a lot harder than it looks. I learned 2 or 3 really good lessons when I was doing it. So anyway, this is a good location for the composition. It's off to the one side, and there's space in front of the bird, for the bird to kind of look. You always want a little more space in front of an animal so they can kind of look out into the frame. Unfortunately, it must have been in a shadow of a tree or something. It's gone. It's just pretty flat because of the lighting, and there's not really a catch light in the eye either. I don't know if the photographer could come in and lighten this up just a little bit with a brush tool, or if they could use a circular gradient and place it over this and lighten it up a bit. I think that would help some. And I do like the detail here, the water on the feathers. It must have been, and its head's a little wet too, so it must have just, ducked its head under the water and popped back up. So that's a nice touch. But the lighting just really, is not, the best on this. I think it really would pop more if it was a little bit lighter. But I gave this a 4 for composition, a 3 for impact, and a 3 for technical.
Oh, I got all kinds of weird things popping up on my thing. Shoot. Now I lost. Hold on, guys.
Sure.
I just
Don't sign up for a new car warranty.
God, no kidding. I managed to kick myself off here, but I'll be back on in a second. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so was it 433, John?
433, yeah.
Okay. So there we go. Merganser by Rosemary Desire, 10 points.
And next,
Moab Road.
it's funny, I just signed up for a trip to Moab in March with the Tennels. So maybe we'll drive down this road. I hope I won't take the same picture though, okay? Whoever did this just happened to be there at a really cool time because they've got all this misty, stuff in the air. If this was Terry Hamilton's photo, I would be, thinking that he probably put that mist in there because he was always kind of making up mist and, creating these interesting photos. But this looks like the real thing. I like the fact that the road kind of leads us in and kind of a little bit of a curve here into the picture. And it might even be nice if the photographer was just a little bit higher and that road would show up just a little bit more as it goes around the corner. But I think there's enough there for us to know that's the road. And I like these rocks over here on the right a lot. These are just really neat. Now, we had some pictures of some rocks last week. I don't know if they were the same rocks, but those are really nice. Oops, sorry. Don't want to make anybody dizzy. But the rocks on one side and this grass on the other side and the big rock kind of, keep us from going off to one side or the other. So the composition is really nice. And I'm going to give this one 5 for composition, 4 for impact, and 5 for technical.
Moab Road by Steve Whitaker, 14 points.
Nice job, Steve. And this morning I went through the pictures and I scored them. The second time I went through, I changed 2 or 3 scores. And just now I changed it again and I gave him like a point higher for the composition. So I think, if I looked at him again next week, I'd probably change some other things.
Okay. Morning Bugler.
Well, if you've ever heard an elk, you know what they sound like, and you can hear that sound coming right out of the computer right now. That is really a neat pose. Photographing animals is another one of those things that I've not had much experience with, but I know that an animal that is doing something is so much more interesting than one that's just standing there. And this one's doing something, and it really adds some impact to the picture. Let's see. I love this blurred background. They picked just the right focus. Everything on this elk is in focus. I mean, it's just really nice. Let's see. I don't know what else to say other than I'm just amazed at the picture, and hope that someday I can do some stuff like this. I scored this one 4 for composition, a 5 for impact, and 5 for technical.
Morning Bugler by Steve Shining, 14 points.
Way to go, Steve. Nice picture.
Nature's canvas.
Well, after you look at that elk and then all of a sudden you come over to this, at first I went, oh, okay, nice little landscape. And then the more I looked at it, the more this one really grew on me. And this is an example of one of those pictures that if it was on a wall and you looked at it every once in a while, I think you could disappear into it very easily each time. I know one of the things that really attracts me to this is the fact that I used to walk down roads like this all the time with my dog. So it has, it's bringing something to me that it might not bring to other people. The snow looks like it's really well exposed. It doesn't look like any of it's blown out. There's great reflections here. These trees off to the left I think that kind of helps frame the picture. And I really like those. And the road curving back in behind them keeps me from slipping out of the picture off to the right. It feels wet. I mean, I can just actually feel the moisture in this picture. And so I scored this one 5 for composition, 4 for impact, and 5 for technical.
Nature's Canvas by David Hubert, 14 points.
Nice job.
Pica.
Well, this is a great close-up. Just look at those whiskers. Every one of them stands out from the background. Great light. There's a little catch light in the eyes. I like the rock at an angle here, which makes the picture a little more dynamic. If this pica was just sitting on a flat rock, I don't think it would have the same feel to it. The fact that it's kind of at an angle, and it's a little paw is just peeking out over the rock here, which is really nice. I mean, you can almost feel this animal, the fur is just so detailed. I gave this a 4 for composition because I'm not really sure. I mean, the eye's pretty much in the middle of the picture, but a 5 for impact because it is just so real, and a 5 for technical.
We're doing that. Pica by Harvey Brown, 14 points.
Great job. Yeah, the only thing I could imagine that would make it better is if he had a nut in his mouth or was holding something. I don't know. So
Sharing responsibility.
well, when this one first popped up, I mean, it's just struck me right away because the lighting was just so powerful. And it was, seemed to be really sharp compared to some of the other images I saw when I looked through all the images. But then the more I look at it, the more I realize it's probably been really over sharpened, or the clarity slider has been really, moved over to the right a bunch. As you start to get up in here into the faces, you can start to see, the over sharpening and the clarity, what it's doing up in here. But still, this is a really, really nice composition. Either the person had an incredible zoom lens, or this is one of those nesting platforms that are out in Coeur d'Alene Lake or someplace where you can get kind of close with a boat. But the thing that makes the picture really, really work is the fact that these two birds are engaging with each other and they look back and forth. I'm kind of thinking it's a couple and they're remodeling it. The wife is trying to add another room, or she doesn't like the color or the arrangement of the sticks or something. I don't know. They're having a little bit of an argument, maybe. I scored this 5 for composition, 5 for impact, but 3 for technical.
Sharing responsibility by Dorothy Detler, 13 points.
And this is our last in this category.
Yes, the last roses.
Well, when you know the last roses is last, I can't believe that. Well, I'm not a big fan of shots that have a lot of blur like this. I don't know if this was done with the Lens Baby or if this was done in Photoshop in one of those, like the radial blur tool or something like that. But that much blur, a little I like, but this is enough that I find it kind of distracting. I like the way that the flowers are arranged. I like this one bud kind of coming out, this one that never got to bloom. And I'm sure if Ira was critiquing this, he would have, something to say about, the potential of life cut short or something really deep and meaningful. But anyway, I kind of like that. And I commend the maker for choosing a subject because, roses in their bloom, get photographed all the time, but there's not that many people that try to attack the subject of, after they've bloomed and, are dying here. So anyway, I scored this 3 for composition, 3 for impact, and 4 for technical.
The Last Roses by Colleen Bailey, 10 points, and it was my Lens baby.
Oh, there you go. I don't have one of those, so.
Makes it 50. All right, so we're moving into digital general monochrome.
All right. Okay.
Droplet.
Okay, well, this looks like an icicle, but it doesn't really feel like an icicle. It doesn't feel cold and have that kind of bluish look that icicles do. It looks real gray. I mean, I don't know what the histogram would look like for this picture, but I'm kind of guessing there wouldn't be a whole lot, over on the real far right. And the more I looked at it, almost looks like maybe they cut this icicle and this little droplet out and put a plain background behind it or something. It has a real unusual look and feel to it. I think the composition is a little bit static, running right down the middle of the page, but it does work. So I scored this 3 for composition, 2 for impact, and 2 for technical.
Droplet by Kevin Watts, 7 points. Friends.
All right, another people shot. We don't usually get too many of those. This one almost looks like it's infrared. It's kind of hard to tell because the ladies could have, pretty white hair, but the color of the leaves and stuff makes it look like it's kind of an infrared shot. The placement of the figures is right in the middle, but if they had been placed off to the left, their hair would have just started to blend with these leaves and they wouldn't pop out of the picture quite the same. So it's nice that they're right in front of this darker limbed area and this tree. I like the fact that, there's something going on. They're in conversation. They're actually kind of moving. So they're not just static. You can see her foot here that, she's getting ready to take a step. I scored this one 3 for composition, 3 for impact, but 4 for technical.
Friends by John McLaughlin, 10 points. Making a Withdrawal.
Okay, this one, the title is kind of interesting. I'm not really sure what's it symbolizes, if the bison is withdrawing or the people in the car are withdrawing. They don't really seem to be. They seem like they're kind of sitting there enjoying the view. Let's see. Maybe the maker's, saying something about the relationship between people and wildlife. But again, this is, the intent of the maker to leave that car in there. But I think, if the person had, cropped that car out completely, just left the bison, that it might be a stronger wildlife photo. But if the intent is to kind of show the fact that, we're kind of intruding into the bison space or whatever, then I think it's probably fine. Looks like there's pretty good blacks, and I don't think the whites are blown out, although it looks a little brighter tonight on my screen than it did this morning. I scored this 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Making a Withdrawal by David Hubert, 12 points. Nose to nose.
Wow, this is a great opportunity here, I love this, what's going on in the picture. There's really pretty good tonal range too, from the darks to the lights. Nothing's really blown out. I like the nice, tone on the skin. This lettering up here above the woman's head is really distracting. Anytime there's lettering, we just can't help but look at it and try to read it. And it's, really takes away from the main subject matter. So it wouldn't be hard. I would just take that lettering out. And it would be nice if the little more of their shoulders, maybe even the hand of whoever's holding the corn was showing. I know this was probably just an opportunity that was taken rather quickly, and the maker maybe didn't have a chance to, recompose and, say, okay, do it again, take another bite. You might even try considering cropping the picture above the little girl's head, and just cutting a little bit off of the woman's head, and then cutting into her hair on the back here. So we really just zoom right in on their faces and see what you can get that way. What's the name of this one again?
Nose to nose.
Oh, that's right, nose to nose. There you go. Okay, I gave this a 3 for composition, but a 4 for impact and a 4 for technical.
Nose to nose by Donald Burnell, 11 points.
Fun photo, Don.
Three's Company.
Okay, this is one of those photos that kind of grew on me too, the more I looked at it. I've always admired these grain silos. I grew up in Nebraska, so all over the West there's silos like this, and they just really pop out of the landscape because they're so perfect, and they're shiny, and they got all these little lines on them. And I've always thought it'd be fun to do a whole series with them, and I've actually seen a couple of photographers who've done series with the grain silos, but nothing like this. This one's a little bit more unique. It almost looks like it might be infrared just because of the flag, but maybe I'm just seeing infrared and stuff tonight because I saw that in a photo earlier that I know probably wasn't. I like the composition, the fact that there's just this little strip along the bottom, and they left more on the top, so the diagonals, these triangles at the top, stand out a little bit more, and that the flag stands out. And I don't know what they did to get the this high contrast kind of composition or lighting, but it works. So I scored this 4 for composition, 5 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Three's Company by Alice Garland, 13 points.
Wow, that looks like out of character for Alice, so I'm really surprised. I also like the fact that this flag and these ladders are kind of offset, so they're over into that third where we try to put our subject oftentimes. I don't know if Alice ever joined us or not.
Last one in this category, tomato.
Tomato. All right, it looks like a portrait of a tomato. I like the fact that they chose a fruit or a vegetable, depending on which camp you're in, and tried to do a portrait of it. And I also like this, the tone range again, the black, and all these different tones of grays that are in the tomato. And none of these little shiny spots are blown out. It looks like the maker had the same problem I've had when I tried to photograph something on velvet. Every little speck of lint that you don't even see seems to show up. You might try taking the black slider and moving that to make that darker, and some of this may disappear. Or you might want to just take your a brush tool and just lower the exposure and paint this in. Although now that I look at it, if this was super black out here, I don't know, you'd probably lose some of the character of this tomato. But you got to figure out a way to get rid of all this little lint that's around the edges because it's really distracting. I scored this 3 for composition because it is a pretty typical viewpoint of a tomato when it's sitting on the counter. I gave it a 4 for impact because of the black and the different grays, and a 3 for technical.
Tomato by John Clekus, 10 points.
Good. And I hope John does a whole bunch more portraits of vegetables and fruits and vegetables, because I think that could be a really cool series to work with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going into subject color.
Okay. Oh, we got some good ones in here too.
Yeah.
Some fun ones. All right.
Okay. An old treasure.
Well, I'll tell you that the texture on this truck is just phenomenal. I don't know what's growing on it, but there's a lot of it and it's pretty textured. I hope the maker got in close and did some macro shots on this, because I've never seen something with that much stuff on it. I don't know if they parked under a tree there where a bunch of birds live or what, but it's really got something growing on it. So I love the texture. I love the fact that they kind of zoomed in and it's almost like a face over here on the left side of the image with the grill and the headlights. I kind of wish this white wasn't back here, or it wasn't so strong, because it has a tendency to kind of compete with the truck. I don't know in the new Lightroom if you could create a mask by selecting that area and then trying to darken it, or do something with it. I don't know. Probably kind of hard because of this mirror, but that's the only thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, is that white. I scored this 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 4 for technical.
An old treasure by Lori Pence, 12 points.
And again, when you kind of zoom in, it's not quite as sharp as you think it's going to be. Whoops, where am I headed? Oh, I got to push on the right arrow here, John.
Big Red.
Okay, good title, Big Red. This image looks really, really soft. Again, if I just kind of zoom in a little bit, you can see how these gears that should be pretty crisp are pretty soft. I don't know where it was taken, if the person could have used a tripod and had a, longer exposure, or different f-stop, or if they just didn't focus in the right place. I do like the fact that they have these gears kind of coming down at an angle here on the left. And it's kind of balanced off with this little blue thing here on the right. The colors are just a little strange to me. It's almost like somebody has hand tinted the blue and the red. But if they did a lot of work. But that it just seems a little unnatural. I like the fact that they kind of zoomed in and that the image fills the frame. I scored this 3 for composition, 4 for impact, and 3 for technical.
And sorry. Big Red by Kim Barbie, 10 points. Blown Away.
Well, we have several windmill photos tonight too, which is kind of unusual. Got I think maybe 3 or 4 people pictures and 3 or 4 windmill pictures. This windmill picture is one that really grew on me the more I looked at it. These things aren't that easy to get a photograph in an interesting group, but the maker, I think, took this at the end of the day, late in the day, with low sunlight, and so the windmills are kind of all facing the sun as if they're getting that last little warmth on their face. And the shadows in this crop, I mean, it just really brings out the textures and even makes these telephone poles pop. And the phone lines, which, most of us are always trying to take out, they really stand out nicely. So the road is leading us up to the windmills. The telephone poles are leading us there. The telephone wires are leading us here. And the lighting is just really, really nice, really has a mood to it. And that's something that's, you get in the morning really early, and, you get, in the late afternoon and the early evening. So I just really like this one of the windmills here. So I gave this one, oh, wow, I guess it blew me away. I gave it a 5.55.
All righty, blown away by Lynn Nordhagen, 15 points.
Oh, way to go, Lynn.
Engine.
Here's an example, going from that last one to this one, how much different lighting can make. This seems like maybe it was taken more in the middle of the day, or, the sun was coming down from a little higher angle, and it's just has a whole different feel to it. It's not nearly as moody or anything like that. Let's see. The lighting is a little bit harsh on this one. Let's see what here. I don't mind this little weed coming out of here. I could see where somebody would find that interesting and maybe be trying to say something about nature and, man or something like that. But I hope they took the weed out and took a few pictures too, just to see, if it made a difference. Maybe a little bit of a gradient at the top to darken it down at the top, kind of keep us from slipping out with this really bright thing over here, or this bright area over here. I know part of this weed might get darkened, and you might have to go back in and exclude that from the gradient. I scored this, and maybe a vignette would help too, kind of keep us in the middle. But I scored this 3 for composition, 3 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Engine by John Clekus, 9 points. Flying machine, B1 refueling.
Well, this is a view that most of us are never going to get, and we're not going to be able to take with our camera, that's for sure, which is probably just fine with me, because I don't think I'd want to be staring down through a little tiny window at the ground. I'm not sure about the color, the white balance here. I don't really know, what the glass looks like. Sorry, somebody keeps texting me. I'm trying to get, if you hear dinging in the background, because it looks a little bit too blue to me, but that might be the way it looks at that altitude. I have no idea what color this plane really is, but it does look a little bit, like maybe they could change the color balance a little bit. Let's see. I like the fact that this airplane is completely showing here on the nose, and they were able to place it in this little, kind of triangle, because there's not a lot of room to work in this picture. I mean, there really isn't anywhere else that the plane would really work well. It would be nice if we could see the pilot. I tried to zoom in and I really couldn't tell, what was going on there, but that would have been kind of fun if we could have seen somebody in the pilot there in the airplane. Maybe I scored this high. I don't know, probably because it's such a unique picture to me, and there's just no way I would have wanted to be in that situation with my camera looking down through this little tiny opening. And I'm sure there wasn't a lot of room to wiggle around in there either. But I scored this 4 for composition, 5 for impact, and 4 for technical. Although maybe I gave it 1 too many points for technical, but that's okay.
Flying machine, B1 refueling by Kevin Watt, 13 points.
All right. Kevin gets to see things we don't get to see, that's for sure.
Great gears.
Okay, great title. I was looking at one of my pictures of some gears, and I could not come up with a title, but this one works perfectly with this because they're zoomed in so much. They appear to be great in size. This is another picture that the focus is just starting to disappear off to the right here. And I think that really kind of hurts it a lot. You know, the fact that this stuff is just not sharp, you know, up here it is, but it would be nice if a little more of it was in focus. I like the colors. I think they really captured the colors and the feeling of the rust, but that focus really, really makes a big difference. So I scored this 4 for composition, 3 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Great Gears by Rosemarie Bizarre, 10 points. Hammered.
I like the title. I mean, it's got, you know, kind of means a couple different things. I don't know whose battery cable this is, but I hope their battery's still in good condition, because if you have to hammer your battery cable that much, you've got a problem. But what a unique subject. Most of the time we're looking around for something really unusual, you know, something people haven't seen before. And rarely do we kind of just look right in front of us at something as ordinary as a battery cable. But the textures and the colors in this are just really interesting and capture my attention and add a lot of impact. The color of the battery cable over here is a little bit distracting, and maybe if, you know, if it was mine, I might try to darken that down just a little bit so it doesn't pull me over there, but you know, I don't know. I scored this 5 for composition, 5 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Hammered by Lynn Nordhagen, 14 points.
Another Lynn. I thought maybe that'd be David Powers, because he's always messing around with his battery.
Harris Wind Turbine.
Well, this one is really fun. Another, you know, wind turbine picture. And I don't know if that Harris is a place where there's wind turbines. I have no idea, but this one is really fun. It looks like it's almost like some kind of a thing at Disneyland, or one of those pinwheels that kids get and blow on and spin around. And I'm just kind of wondering if they started making the wind turbines like this, if maybe people wouldn't mind them in their views, the view in front of their house. So many people really hate looking at them, but maybe this is what we need. I don't know. Whoever did this obviously has either layered, you know, maybe 3 pictures, and then gone in and colored these blades on the wind turbine. So it's taken some Photoshop skill for sure. I think I would either remove or darken this little white cloud at the bottom over here. I find that kind of, I don't know, little distracting element. I really like and appreciate this shadow on the wind turbine. And they even have, let's see if I can zoom in here. They've even got, you know, the colors in it. Like, I don't know, that took some real thought. I wouldn't have even, you know, most people probably would have just made that all one color. So whoever did this had some great Photoshop skills. There is a little bit of a kind of a halo, a dark halo around the top. I mean, I don't know how that would show up in a print. And it might be because the maker had to pull down a gradient or something to darken the sky, which really made the wind turbine pop. So I scored this 5 for composition. Having it in the middle is perfect, and 5 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Harris Wind Turbine by Harvey Brown, 14 points.
Way to go, Harvey. Wow, that's a fun one.
All right.
Whoop. Go ahead, you can say it.
Dream.
Okay, since this was done at the last minute, this is my image. So you can just put a 0 down for the score. But I really like this one because it was just so brightly colored. And I thought, you know, when you zoom in on, you know, this is sharp. And some of the images, I don't think we're getting the sharpness that you know, we could get. But anyway, there you go. We didn't have time to have someone else judge it. But for print night, I'll definitely make sure somebody else gets my prints, okay?
Landing.
Okay, well, it's always thrilling to look out of an airplane window, especially when you're coming over a town or even your hometown, which is even better. And it's a view that we don't often get, so it's special. I'm sure if you were a business traveler and you were doing it all the time, it would get really boring to look out, the window. But it is more of kind of a snapshot picture because, the person did just, probably use their phone and they were pretty limited. They couldn't compose very well or anything. They just had to take whatever was outside their window. But it is a nice shot, and I like the fact that this one road is just, kind of running along here at top of the engine. So I scored this 3 for composition, 3 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Landing by Sister Madonna, 9 points.
I think Sister travels a lot because I think she's had several airplane photos.
Memories.
Well, this reminds me of our trip to Sprague, where we saw all the trucks. I don't know for sure if this is from Sprague or not, but kind of reminds me of that. It has an interesting kind of color tone. Nothing seems to be blown out on the chrome, which is, difficult. Lots of times areas of the chrome will get blown out. I might add a little bit of a gradient at the top to see if I could darken these windows down a little bit, just because they kind of pull my eye up towards the top. Or a person could even crop them out. I know cropping to weird sizes is not a fun thing if you ever want to mat and frame your pictures at an expense that most of us can afford. But for just digital, you can crop and make any kind of weird shape or size you want. Let's see. All right, so I scored this 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Memories by Jean Alleman, 12 points.
All right.
Needs a little work.
Yeah, I think it needs more than a little work. I like this wheel and these rough, jagged splits in the fender. That I find, really appealing. I wouldn't find it appealing if I had to fix it, but that's really, the main sort of focus of this vehicle, old car or old truck. Again, it's one of those kind of blurred images, and I might think about just sort of cropping off the left, I don't know, quarter or something like that, because it's pretty bright over here on the left side, and it kind of pulls you away from this part that's in focus. And then I like the part over here to the right that's all blurry, but I think I might sort of crop that. I don't know if it'd be worth trying to darken it in or not. I scored this 3 for composition, 3 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Needs a little work by Colleen Bailey, 9 points.
All right. Was that the lens baby again?
Yep.
The lens baby.
50. Old steam tractor.
All right. This is one of those ones I looked at this morning and scored, and then I came back this afternoon and changed the score. I don't remember if I think I might have taken 1 point away when I did this afternoon. But this is an interesting picture. I like the way the steam tractor is positioned off to the right, so it's got a little bit of room to move as it goes through the picture. It actually does kind of look like it's moving because of the dust that's coming up from the wheel. And you can see when you zoom in here, the flywheel here is spinning around and this piston's moving, so this thing is moving through the picture. The only problem with the movement is the people aren't quite as sharp when you zoom in as you'd like them to be. And I didn't notice that at first, but then when I kind of zoomed in, I did see it. I liked the surrounding space. I think it was a good crop, showing the hills and the area around the machine. And if the rest of you get a chance on Labor Day next year, they may do this again in Colfax. They do a harvesting, a threshing bee, they call it. And they bring out this steam tractor and, a bunch of horses and mules. And it's really fun to watch. So I scored this 4 for composition, 5 for impact, because this isn't something you see very often. And I also like the colors, the green and the red and the gold. And then 4 for technical.
Old,
Mostly because, yeah, these guys are just a little blurry.
Old Steam Tractor by Steve Shining, 13 points.
All right.
Railroad Map.
Well, this is an interesting one. When it first popped up, I mean, I think if most people saw this, they wouldn't think this was a photograph. They would just think it was an illustration by the Union Pacific Railroad. But since it's in here in the photographs, I'm assuming whoever did this took a picture of a steam engine and overlaid it with this map from the Union Pacific. So, somebody saw creative possibilities that most of us would miss. The only thing that'd be nice it was if this train was flipped the other way and was going west. The railroad's kind of opened the west. It's the Union Pacific Railroad, but I can see why they didn't do that, because there is a number on the side of this engine and it also says Union Pacific back here on this car, and that would all be reversed, so it really wouldn't work very well. But that'd be my only comment. So I scored this 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 5 for technical.
Railroad Map by Tim Lesser, 13 points. Returning to Base.
Reminds me of a UFO or something. And I thought it was kind of interesting how somebody photographed a drone instead of the drone photographing, something else. And I imagine this is a photo taken by somebody who is not the drone pilot. But if it was taken by the drone pilot, hey, that's pretty cool. You can photograph your own drone. I don't know how that works, but it looks pretty nice. I love the background and the fact that this thing has been silhouetted, kind of floating up here. Yeah, it's kind of in the middle, but I think that works okay because of the curve of the seashore here, and kind of, brings us back a little bit. I don't think it would be as interesting if we didn't have that little hook over here, that little tiny peninsula sticking out. Love the colors. I scored this 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 5 for technical.
Returning to Base by Tim McGee, 13 points.
Wow, it is Tim taking a picture of his own drone. Okay, that does give you the 5 points for technical for sure.
Rusted Gears.
Well, again, this is another one with pretty harsh lighting. I mean, this yellow in here just really, it's kind of jarring. It really sort of jumps out. And I think that's just because of the kind of lighting and the time of day. The maker might trying to soften it down a little bit, add a little bit of a vignette or something. Maybe that would help. Or in that new Lightroom, you can go in and select an area of this yellow and then go to the luminance slider, and you can affect all of the yellow in the whole picture. And you might be able to tone it down, change the color, do something interesting with it. So if you have Lightroom, the new Lightroom, you might want to try that, just see what happens. I like the composition, the fact that they've got this chain kind of going at a diagonal, and they've moved this bolt over here, this gear, so it's off center. So I think that helps the composition a lot. And I scored this one 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Rusted Gears by Donna Larson, 12 points. Six White Mules.
Okay, again, this is a picture taken down there at that Colfax threshing bee. And it was really fun to watch this take place. This couple over to the right, kind of interesting. And I find it kind of funny that he's driving, but she's doing all the work. She's got to load all the stuff into, into this wagon. And earlier in the day, they were involved in quite a crash when their horses were spooked. I think they were different horses, but their horses were spooked by a steam engine. And I don't even know if this is the same wagon, because their wagon got damaged in the process of being drugged down into a ditch. I think the real artist here is this guy back here driving these 6 mules. I mean, that's got to take some skill. Plus, he's got to have some pretty smart mules, I guess. They seemed like they were doing most of the work too. So let's see, what did I say? Okay, the image is really sharp. Some people might think there's too much space at the top, but you know, I was there too, and there was a lot of space, a lot of this, and it was just really powerful to see the wheat that had been cut and how it went way up onto some hills. But I think you could crop some of this out at the top and still have that feeling. I gave this a 4 for composition, a 4 for impact, and a 5 for technical.
6 White Mules by Alice Garland, 13 points.
Wow, this is nice. I was going to kind of zoom in on these guys. She's a tough farm wife, I can tell you.
Stranded.
Whoop. This is stranded number 2. Because there's two strandeds.
Uh-huh.
All right, so this, and I mean, what fun. This almost looks like it can't possibly be real. I mean, it's just, you know, too perfect, but it's really a fun picture. It looks like something you'd see either at a Disney, you know, set or in the movie Cars. I don't know what's happened to the sky, why the sky is this color. I don't know if the photographer did some kind of split toning thing to do something with the sky or why they did it. It kind of makes it look to me almost like it's a diorama in a museum or something instead of a real place. But everything down here is just really sharp. You know, look at this stuff on this tire. But the sky is just a little bit, you know, off-putting to me. Composition is great. The way the tree is here off to the right. And I mean, I really like the composition. So I scored this 5 for composition, 4 for impact, and 4 for technical. Oh, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the sky over here. So I just don't know what's going on with the sky, what they were trying to achieve.
Stranded by Steve Whitaker, 13 points.
All right.
Nope, that one's Tamara McGee.
Oh, it is?
Stranded 2.
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Maybe this one's Steve's, because this one's stranded.
So stranded.
That's stranded number 2.
Okay.
Okay.
So, well, I just flipped the names. So
Okay.
the one you just judged, Stranded, was by Tamara McGee. So let's go to the second Stranded. And that, okay.
All right. Well, this one's definitely stranded out in the middle of snow. I love the colors on this truck, the sort of soft, you know, reds on this truck. Oh, I just really like the way that feels. And the fact that there's, you know, it's in the middle and there's all this stuff around it probably wouldn't work for a lot of, you know, subjects, but for being stranded in the middle of a field of snow, it works to have it in that location. And it's really sharp. I mean, you know, you got these little, just tiny bits of stubble poking through the snow, which is really nice. It looks like they might have added something around it to kind of darken the snow, to kind of get our emphasis on the truck, which works, but it is a little funny looking here. I don't know what it would look like in a print. It's just a little bit gritty around the edge, but still that just really adds to this feeling of this thing being, out in the middle of nowhere in the snow. I scored this one 5 for composition, 5 for impact, and 4 for technical.
Stranded by Steve Whitaker, 14 points.
Cool. I like that one.
Supply chain machinery.
Well, here you go, Evelyn. This definitely looks like a drone photo, or somebody has access to a crane. And, every time I see one of these drone footage, pictures, I'm just blown away. Now, maybe eventually after I've seen enough of them, I'll kind of grow tired of it or something, but that different viewpoint, and we're always looking for a different viewpoint. We're either getting down low on the ground, high in it, high in the air. Dave Morton told me he used to carry a ladder with him when he would go out shooting, so he could get just a little bit different viewpoint than everybody else. The colors look all really realistic. The light is nice and, crisp and clear. They waited until this barge got just in the right spot right here. The only thing, if I was going to change something, is I might try and take this crane on the bottom out, because it's a little bit distracting, because it's kind of bright and it wouldn't be hard to take out, but, might not be worth, the effort for the maker. And I scored this one 4 for composition, probably because of that crane, 5 for impact, and 5 for technical.
Okay. Supply chain machinery by Tim McGee, 14 points. The 495.
All right. Well, it's too bad old engines like this aren't still running, because they're way more interesting to look at than those ugly diesel things you see on the railroads now. This one also kind of reminds me of something like, the little train that could, or whatever, like a train that you would see in a children's book. And in some ways, I think it might even be more powerful if you cropped off the left, got pretty close to the train, and then crop off right where this, and eliminate this little yellow car off to the side back here. So we really zoomed in, and that train was just right in our face, powerful, and then just kind of disappearing right out of the picture. Oftentimes when I see my pictures, I remember being there and composing and everything. And then, a year later, I'll come back to them and I'll zoom in on something, and I'll think, wow, I like it better when I zoom in. Maybe not that much, but just to give you an idea. Whoops. A great picture, nice and sharp. Probably the maker was on a tripod because they had an opportunity to stand here and take their time and get a good shot. If Ira Gardner was critiquing this, he'd say, well, too bad there's not some smoke coming out of the stack, and that there's not a woman tied to the track down here in front. But that's just me. Whoop. Sorry, I got to go back. There we go. This one is 4 for composition, 5 for impact, and 5 for technical.
The 495 by Donna Larson, 14 points. $12 foot.
12 foot. I saw that title before the picture came up. 12 foot. I don't remember that picture. Well, this is one heck of a rocket. I don't know if that's 12 feet or not, but that is some rocket, that's for sure. And it's obviously going to go a long way, because I can see this antenna that the person's holding over here. So there's probably a tracker in the rocket, and they're going to hopefully find it somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, it looks like. I suppose some judges would say, well, it's too bad the figures aren't turned around and we can't see their faces. But I'm kind of thinking if the main focus is the rocket, that's the subject the maker wanted to, have us see as the main subject. If they were turned around, we'd be more looking at them and maybe less at the rocket. I don't know. So I scored this 4 for composition because it's nicely placed. The figures are off to one side. 3 for impact and 4 for technical.
12 foot by David Powers, 11 points. All
Who would
right.
have guessed?
So we're moving into subject monochrome, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are 7.
Subject. Okay, we're almost there, people. I don't know how we're doing on time.
Blowing in the wind.
Wow, I wrote a lot of stuff down about this one, a lot of notes. Amazing. Huh. Anyway, I guess I wasn't keeping track, but this is either our 3rd or 4th shot of wind turbines. So that's sort of interesting. I find the composition in this one is really good. The fact that they waited until this blade was angled up here towards the corner is just, that's perfect, I think, for that big one. It might have been nice if the little one, if they could have waited a little bit more, but if they had, then of course the big one would have been different. And they could have taken 2 pictures and maybe gotten the 3rd blade on the smaller one just off to the side. But if you're just doing 1 picture, I think, you caught the best you could here. It really works well the way the blades are situated. The fact that they're off to the left is really nice. I like this little bush over here. It kind of adds something that's not real distracting, but it kind of keeps us in the frame from going out. I think you might even be able to take this little bush on the left side out. It doesn't distract me that much, but you could probably remove that. And they tried to get a nice little starburst or some light right behind this wind turbine. I don't know what kind of a camera they used, but to get one of those nice stars, you have to use a, like a F-16 or probably F-22 or something. And that might've made these wind turbines, blurred or something. The only thing that's a little weird is this has been either sharpened or the clarity slider moves so much that there's those little white lines around everything. And we talked about that last time, maybe even the last couple times. And David Sams and Tim Lesser gave everybody the formula on how to remove those in Photoshop. They do kind of help these wind turbines pop out, but I think most photographers would find them kind of distracting and, not a good thing. But composition is really, really nice on this. And so I gave this a 5 for composition, a 5 for impact, but a 3 for technical.
Blowing in the Wind by Elaine Giordani, 13 points.
All right, Elaine.
Grain machines.
Grain machines. And once again, there's those crazy little white lines appearing around stuff. And they appear, I've had them in mind before. I remember I had a picture that I just loved, and it had that all the way around this sort of mountainous butte. And I spent hours cloning them out. And now Tim's given us the secret formula. But this one I think would be almost impossible to, it would just be way too much time to get that out of there. So I don't know if it's just from too much clarity. None of the whites are blown out. Some of the blacks appear to be pretty solid, and there's not a lot of detail like in the, the ship over here. So it might have been just from kind of pushing the contrast or the clarity on the picture. I like the composition. I suppose some judges would say, well, you should flip it around so that you'd be coming in from the left. But then again, you'd have all this type back here that would be, reversed, and that wouldn't work. I scored this 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Oops. Too many 3s. All right. Grain Machines by David Powers, 11 points. more than a ride.
Okay, and once again, this is one of mine, so you can put a 0. I kind of forgot about it. And just so you know, I mean, when I chose this picture, there was emotion involved in the choosing. I liked the black and the white. I tried to darken it down a little bit at the top, but after I saw it, when it came up in the judges thing, I'm thinking I probably should have cropped it more. But the fact that it was this really nice black and white motorcycle was important to me, but also the fact that they were making the ride for these people, all veterans that had lost their lives. So that was the title. All right. Next up,
Nosy.
Nosy. Good title. It's a cute title. I like the horizontal lines, running across the back, but yet there's the diagonal of the plane and the diagonal of this arm up here, whatever it is, part of the ceiling, I guess, that's holding up the roof here that this plane is suspended from. It might be some significant airplane, but I don't really know. I mean, something that was important enough to be put in a museum. I can see why they chose monochrome. If this was in color and there was much going on as far as color in the background, it would really detract from this airplane. The lighting is a little bit flat to me, but I like the diagonal. So I scored this 4 for composition, 3 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Nosy by Sister Madonna, 10 points.
All right. Sister's going to museums.
Recovery crew.
Okay, recovery crew. The tones in this, from the black to the white are really nice. This is just a really nice black and white picture. I like the fact that this, wrecker is up close, pulled up, like almost in our face. I'm not sure all this empty space over here is really needed. I don't know. I find it a little bit distracting from the wrecker. Maybe if, they just actually even just kind of crop this almost an, 8x10, but in a vertical, portrait mode, just off to the right of this fence, maybe it would work better. I don't know. But maybe the space is important to the maker, because it does show a location. Let's see, what else do I say? It's a good choice for monochrome. I think if it was in color, there'd probably be a lot of things going on. These cars back here, a car over here, who knows what color that is. They might be sort of distracting. And the black and white really adds a sense of drama and power, makes this vehicle seem like a really powerful vehicle. I scored this 3 for composition, 4 for impact, and 5 for technical, because it is really well done and it's nice and sharp.
Okay, recovery crew by Butch Shop, 12 points.
And again, that's one of those things where Butch chose to put that truck there, so I wouldn't change it, Butch.
Sky high.
Well, this is a nice viewpoint. This one was on the screen too when my wife walked by and she said, "Oh, wow, I really like the way that looks," because you just don't really see airplanes close up at that sort of angle. I like the way the angle of the wings, the diagonal, and then the diagonal of the body of the plane, is really nice. Let's see. Either the person zoomed in a lot, or I don't know, if I kind of doubt they added the grain to the picture. It's that little white line is kind of starting to appear again, but that might just be the light on the edge of the wing, because I don't see it anywhere else. So it's working here. I don't know. But this is an interesting one. I scored this one 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Sky High by Elaine Giordoni, 11 points.
Well, Elaine is branching out. It's not a kite.
And this is the last picture for the evening, the launch.
Oh, great. We can launch into the rest of the evening at home after this picture, huh? Well, this one just really popped out when it came up on the screen. I think maybe it might be a little bit over sharpened. You know, it just, but boy, does it ever jump out because of the black and the white. And then not only that, it's the subject matter. I mean, this is the way I used to drive when I was 16, but I never dreamed I could have a car like this. And I don't ever think I got my front wheels off the ground, but I really wanted to. I'm sure that the birders, the animal photographers are probably looking at this going, how come he's giving that a good score? And maybe part of it is that, that boy in me that really wished he had a Mustang. I don't know. But the drama going on here, it's just really exciting. I scored this one 5 for composition. They caught it at just the right moment, 5 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
The launch by Tamara McGee, 14 points.
Wow, Tamara. I don't know how you got that close, Tamara. Hope you're wearing ear protection. All right, I think that's
Thanks,
it.
John.
That's it.
All right. I'm closing the dead judges folder.
Yay.
Oh, I got to get back out of my screen. There you go. Stop sharing. I'm going to count and see who left.
Thank you, John. That
Oh,
was
you're
very
welcome.
helpful. I
And that
especially
was a
like my
nice-
scores.
Those were nice wind turbines, Lynn. I really like that. Wow.
Thanks. It was in the archives. I hadn't even remembered that it was there.
Oh, good. We've all gone into the archives, don't especially these last 2 years.
Good job, John. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you, John. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Great images, by the way.
Hi, everybody.
Whoop, hey, wait, there's Jan and Greg.
Hey.
Whoop, we can't hear them though. They're muted. I want to find out what was for dessert. So what was for dessert?
Good show tonight, John. Well done.
All right, well, I'm done. So
Thanks for all your insights, John. Appreciate it.
Night, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good comments. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.